Hello to my fellow YouTubers. Welcome to my very first sketchbook tour. I've seen a few sketchbook tours on YouTube and they're always quite inspiring, and I thought I'd have a go at my own. I've been trying to draw something every day for the last 6 months or so, so I've now got quite a little collection of pictures. Most of them are already online on my blog, curiouswhimsy.wordpress.com. So if you want to check them out on there you can, but I shall be talking through some of the ideas and some of what I was trying to do whilst I was drawing on here. So I hope you enjoy. So on with the show. This is the first sketchbook I'm going to show you. The first page is an old one because this is an old sketchbook, but I dug it out when I decided to draw a bit more and decided to use it up before I bought anything new. So yeah. We'll start at the beginning, I suppose. Yeah, like I said, it's an old sketchbook. So this, I think, 2005, it looks like. Fortunately, I date things, or at least usually. Every now and then I come across something I haven't dated. But it's not a particularly good picture, even for that old. It's a bit lacking in depth. But I tend to draw in pencil mostly. I like pencil sketches. So yeah, this is a really old piece. I just think that's like over 10 years ago now. Unbelievable. This one, this is newer. There's no date on it or anything, but this was in preparation for a painting I was going to do. I was trying to come up with the composition of some elephants, which I did do in the end. So yeah, this was just a bit of a sketch. But now we'll start looking at more regular pictures. So yeah, now we're in 2015. It's like a whole 10-year jump since that first picture. So back in August, this is September, but in August I started joining in the 52-week illustration challenge. I'll put a link in the comments section if you want to check it out. So they provide you with a prompt each week, and you try and just draw something, some sort of illustration to match that prompt. And this week it was dance. And I made this one up all by myself in my head. I don't do that often. I'm not very imaginative. I'm not very good at composition or characters or anything like that. I'm more of a copier. But yeah, this I was pleased with. So I called it the robot dance. It makes me happy. Yeah. My usual medium of gel pen and cheap pencil crayons or felt tips, generally what I go with. So that's why you'll not see many bold colours in the pencils, because they're a bit rubbish. And then the next page I left blank because I've got a big ink blot on it. I'm sure I could do something with it if I needed to, but I never did. So this was also the 52-week illustration challenge, and the prompt was geometric. I like drawing in gel pens generally, but this just did not work. Gel pens, they tend to smudge if you're not paying attention, and they're quite difficult to control depending on what paper you're on. So this sort of got out of control quite often, and I had to adapt. So it's not my best piece of work, but yeah, they can't all be your best pieces of work, can they? So yeah. And we're still on the 52-week illustration challenge, and this time the prompt was sweets. So despite the sketchiness of this, I quite like it. It's colourful, it's bright, and that's what sweets are. So my usual gel pens showed up in here, but there's also some felt tip pen, and by felt tip pen I mean like children's felt tip pens. I don't have any fancy art materials. This book is probably about as fancy as things get. Yeah. And a pencil sketch. I'm much more at home with a pencil sketch. I don't really have any formal education in terms of art. I don't do it for work. I haven't got an A level or a degree or anything in any artistic type way. I'm a scientist. But pencil sketching is something I've done for a long time. I've never bothered doing it properly. I've never done the whole left to right or use a piece of paper so you don't smudge, which is why everything tends to end up a bit messy and half-hearted. But it's a hobby. I'm doing it for fun. So So you'll notice that. Although I am pleased to say things do tend to have got tidier since I've started doing it more often. So yeah, this was week 43 and the prompt was monster. I was in Spain actually, so I had very limited supplies with me. Hence how I ended up with such bright colours. I just had some children's felt tips again, and a few gel pens. So I went with a monster selfie, and this was my attempt at actually trying to come up with some sort of characters or personalities to these things. See this sort of bit here? Ordinarily I probably wouldn't have thought of that. I'd have just had a bunch of monster type things facing forwards. So I'm trying. It's still not much emotion going on, but hopefully I'll get better with time. Yeah. This is just a little doodle for the illustration challenge and the prompt of peace. And this is actually what I ended up using for my picture on my blog, curiouswhimsy@wordpress.com. And this will be what you see there, although I've digitally coloured it. Yeah, I quite like it. It's a pretty little thing. This was a failed sketch and I can't even remember what for. I think it was a illustration challenge one, but yeah, no recollection what the prompt was. So I gave up on it and left it alone. You might see these two things here. They look like scribbles. They are scribbles, that's exactly what they are. We were out and about and we decided to pass the book around and everybody had to add an extra line to the picture or colour it in or just do something to it, and that's what came out of it. And here's another one. There's 3 of us participated in this one. It was actually about this time I started thinking about doing a daily doodle, if you like. In fact, I call them daily doodles, although they're not really doodles a lot of the time. This one was a doodle. Gel pen, my favourite doodling medium. I think this was going to be for the illustration challenge. I think the prompt was play or playing or something like that. And I didn't like it, so I left it. And I went with this one, that's what it was. So yeah, didn't like this one much either, but I was running out of time, so just went with that. Yeah, I'm really not good at cartoons and character faces at all, so that's something I need to work on. And here's another one that's not great, but this marks the very first in my daily doodles. From the 2nd of December 2015, I have a picture for every single day, if not more than one. So yeah, this was just a gel pen doodle. And it got better. This is the 3rd of December. And this is another one I actually made up myself, and it's a completely different style to my usual sort, and I'm really fond of it. It's simple and sort of elegant, which for me is quite unusual. You'll have noticed I tend to be quite sketchy and scruffy. This is just using my felt tip pens and a bit of gel pen as usual. Yeah, it was nearly Christmas, so it was posting your Christmas list to Santa. I struggle for ideas quite often. Sometimes I let people give me ideas, and at this point we were away on holiday, sitting on the sofa, and one of the people I was with suggested I drew us all, and so I decided to go for a bird's eye view. So although I don't have much of a background in art or anything like that, I did do a bit of graphics at school, and I think that helped with the whole perspective of this one. So the idea was bird's eye view, basically. This one's me. So yeah, quite pleased with it. Just pencil crayons for the colouring. 5th of December. Just a penguin and felt tip pens. Who doesn't like penguins? I think I made this one up actually. I think I probably based parts of it on something, but I think overall the composition was my own, which is unusual for me. It's why doesn't necessarily make complete sense, but I quite like it. This is very much just a sketch. We went to see the bull running, and based on what I remembered of that, really, It's very rough. I never bothered doing anything more to it, it just stayed like that. You'll notice this one says the 6th, this one says the 8th, there's no 7th. I actually did a digital drawing that day, which I was then going to base a Christmas present on. But I can't show you that one here. This was for the weekly illustration challenge. The prompt of warm. I was running out of time. I'm not particularly keen on this picture, but it'll do. And now the 9th of December. I like this. Like it is probably not the wrong word. I'm quite pleased with this, and the hands look like hands. That's always a successful thing. And considering that foreshortening and really difficult angles I decided to make for myself, I think it came out quite well. It wasn't based on anything, which is why I'm even more pleased with it, other than the fact that I'd been on the computer all day. That was the inspiration for that one. Yeah, you'll hopefully see things are starting to look cleaner now and less sketchy all over the place. This is another of the 52-week illustration challenge entries I've put in. This was a prompt of history. Some of the other prompts I've struggled to come up with ideas for. This one had quite a few. But I like how this one turned out. It's a little bit small. I have no idea why I drew it so small in this case. Usually I quite like to fill the space better than this at least, but I like the expressions. I like that there's a bit of a story going on. Yeah, so this was trying to do a bit of character work really, which is something I don't tend to be that good at. This was another daily doodle. Anytime you draw a hand well, you feel quite good. So this was going really well. It was based on a picture, but I think I changed the style to the heavy black outline that I went for. It was all going fine until I screwed up the nail, and then tried to fix it, and then made it worse, and now we have a black nail. But that's what happens sometimes, particularly when you're working with pen. You've just got to roll with it, really. And then on to a full figure sketch. This was from one of the life drawing videos you can find on YouTube, and they'll have various poses for certain lengths of time for you to work on if you want to practice that. I actually paused it just so I could do a full sketch rather than the quick sort of life drawing sketches. It's not really the same as life drawing. It's already put into 2D for you, so it's hard to really practice life drawing, but you can always do classes. There just aren't really that many around me at the moment. So yeah, it's not one of the highest quality sketches in the world, but overall I quite like the shapes that happened there. And now we're getting to some pictures where I was actually away for a bit. I went to see my sister and there was a boxing match on the telly, and I drew this in the half gloom before I went to sleep. Yeah, so that's why it's quite a simple sketch really. Yeah, and probably the less said about this the better. I think I was just trying to put something on paper really. And then this attempt at a Zentangle type doodle. I would say gel pens not ideal for them, they're quite hard to control. And probably use a ruler or draw it with pencil or do something first to guide you, because I really struggled to keep everything under control and tidy. Well, I generally struggle to keep things neat, but yeah, it was quite hard with gel pen in this book. I think there's too much texture on the paper for gel pen. I like this piece. This clearly 15th of December, we're nearly at Christmas. And yeah, it just makes me happy, this picture. I made it up myself, which always makes me happy. But gel pen and a bit of coloured crayon for the dome itself. It's simple and tidy, which is, you'll notice, quite unusual for me. And here's a little piggy. Who doesn't love little piglets? Originally this was just a pencil sketch. It was based on a picture I found online, but I coloured it in the end. And anything cuter than piglets are moo cows. Now usually I'm more than happy to draw and colour with cheap stuff, but This would have been so much better had I got some decent pencil crayons. It's really hard to get any sort of blending tones going on, and that's why you get little yellow streaks everywhere, and yeah. So it's not the best colour application you'll ever see, but I still like the Moo Cow all the same. And here's an example of when cheap stuff works well. This is just a biro drawing. I think I drew a pencil outline first, but then after that, just biro. And I like the boldness of pen drawings, particularly biro. It's really good for making strong lines. And yeah, I love perspectives and vanishing points, and that's something I really did keep after graphics at school, was the art of vanishing points, I suppose. Another day when I just really couldn't be bothered to draw something, and so did a very quick sketch. This is based on a picture, but it's cute little pencil sketch. And here's one I put a bit more time into. This one I actually made up myself, shapes and all, and I'm so pleased with how it turned out. Even the cheap pencil crayons didn't ruin this one. In fact, I quite like the tones. So yeah, I would say challenge yourself to come up with new ideas from time to time. I spend a lot of my drawings copying things that already exist because I'm comfortable doing that. I don't have many ideas of my own. But every now and then something new will crop up in my mind, and if you don't give it a go, you'll never actually get better at it. So I'm quite pleased with it. There's a bit of lack of 3 dimensions happening in places, but the rest of it I think is quite 3-dimensional. And this was clearly I have no idea what to do doodle. Just gel pen, and sometimes that's all I can be bothered to do. 22nd of December we have made it to, and I have drawn stilettos, and I don't really know why, but it doesn't have to be a why to everything. And here we have an elf on a shelf. I actually designed this all myself in my head, which is why he's a slightly odd looking elf. I like the bookcase though, and I quite like the fact that the bookcase is in black and white, whereas the elf is coloured. So yeah, the concept of the elf on the shelf has been going around a lot this year, or that year I should say. It's now 2016, but this was my take on it. And we're back on the 52-week illustration challenge, and this was a prompt of party. So we're nearly at the end of the challenge for the year. I clearly didn't participate in all of it. I only came to it quite late in the year, and then I missed a few. But yeah, this was one of the ones I did put an entry in for, and I like this one. So I went with hats, just in case you're struggling to tell what it is. And I quite like the range of colours and shapes involved. I'm particularly pleased with my newspaper hat. And now we're on the 24th. This is my brother, although a highly stylised version in this case, and with the most horrific felt tip pen application. Really the wrong colours and terrible application, like I said. It's all bitty, and I think I nearly went through the paper at some point. And yeah, this paper's got too much texture for cheap pens. That's what I have learned from this one. And Christmas Day itself, this was a very quick sketch. I mean, who has time at Christmas when all the family is about to really do a proper drawing? So this was quite late at night in my bed. I had a lovely teacup as one of my presents for Christmas. This isn't the lovely teacup, this was just a basic teacup, but that's where the idea came from. And this was clearly my first attempt at drawing the dance prompts I showed you earlier, and obviously a little bit of colour swatching going on there. I think I did a new one because it was too far down the page. Yeah. Oh, and I missed one out earlier because it was a page I filled up later and I wanted to show you everything in the order it had been done. So this was the 26th of December, day after Christmas, and I think I made up for my weaker drawings earlier on with this, and this is my favourite one in the book, actually. It's always a surprise when something comes out better than expected. This is gel pen and cheap pencils. I think I got them from the pound shop. So although I've at some point said that better pencils would be good, you can still do a lot with the cheap ones. Don't let lack of materials put you off. You can usually make something pretty out of it if you really want to. So yeah, I actually later made a painting based on this drawing. It didn't come out as well, which is sad, but I've still got this drawing and this will always be a favourite of mine. So yeah, notice gel pen, white and black. I think the white gel pen is possibly my favourite thing of all time. It makes everything better. So that is the end of my very first complete sketchbook in which I was trying to do something every day. Yeah, we'll move on to the second one in a moment.